The phone buzzed in Alex Harper's hand at 11:47 p.m., the screen glowing like a tiny moon in the dark living room. Mia was finally asleep upstairs, her fever broken, her tiny chest rising and falling under the unicorn blanket. Alex had meant to text his sister, "Kids down. Thanks for the meds." Instead, his thumb slipped, and the message shot off to the last contact he'd opened at work. Elena Voss, CEO, Ice Queen of Vostech, the woman who once made a room of executives cry with a single raised eyebrow. The text read, "Hey gorgeous, if I survive tomorrow's budget meeting, how about drinks to celebrate still having a pulse?" He stared at the scent bubble, heart jackhammering. 5 minutes later, headlights swept across the curtains. A sleek black sedan idled at the curb. The doorbell rang once, sharp as a guillotine. Alex opened the door to Elena Voss in a trench coat, cheeks flushed from the November wind, holding 2 paper cups of coffee like peace offerings. "You look like you need this more than I do," she said, stepping inside before he could stammer an apology. That was the night everything cracked open. Smash that like button if you've ever sent a text you instantly regretted, and subscribe with notifications on, because this story is about to take you from a single dad's cramped apartment to a deserted island where the real message was never about rescue, it was about choosing to stay. Alex Harper was 34, widowed 2 years, and still measuring time in before Sarah and after Sarah. Before, he'd been the guy who could charm a client while juggling a diaper bag. After, he was the guy who forgot to eat, who worked late to avoid the silence of the house, who tucked Mia in with stories about a mom who'd gone to live among the stars. He was lead graphic designer at Vostech, which meant he sat 3 floors below the penthouse where Elena Voss ruled like a glacier. Beautiful, untouchable, lethal if you got too close. Everyone had a Voss story. Alex's was the day she'd walked past his cubicle, glanced at his screen, and said, "Make the blue less desperate." He'd changed it, then changed it back after she left, because the client loved the desperate blue. He never told her. He never told anyone anything, really. He just kept his head down, his invoices paid, and Mia's lunchbox stocked with peanut butter hearts. Elena Voss was 36, single by choice, and allergic to sentiment. She'd built Vostech from a garage app into a billion-dollar empire by never apologizing and never looking back. Her own mother had died when she was 12, her father had remarried a woman who saw Elena as competition, and by 16 Elena was forging her own path with scholarships and sleepless nights. She didn't date, she acquired. She didn't cry, she analyzed. The only soft spot anyone had ever seen was the annual donation to the Children's Hospital, wired anonymously every December 24th. No one connected the dots to the CEO who once spent a Christmas Eve in that same hospital, holding her mother's hand as the monitors flatlined. The flirty text was a grenade with the pin already pulled. Alex spent the next morning drafting resignation emails he never sent. Elena spent it in back-to-back meetings, replaying the message in her head like a song she couldn't mute. "Hey gorgeous." No one had called her gorgeous since college, and even then it had felt like a line. But the text had come from Alex Harper, the quiet designer with the sad eyes and the daughter who sometimes waited in the lobby with a coloring book. She'd noticed him the way you notice a crack in marble, small, but impossible to ignore once seen. That evening, she showed up again. This time with takeout from the Thai place near the office. "I figured you'd be too busy panicking to cook," she said, kicking off her heels in his entryway like she belonged there. Mia wandered downstairs in footy pajamas, took one look at the stranger, and announced, "You're prettier than Daddy's drawings." Elena blinked, then laughed. A sound like ice breaking on a warm day. They ate pad thai on the living room floor while Mia explained the rules of Go Fish. Alex watched Elena fold her legs under her, sleeves rolled up, guard down, and felt the floor tilt. The next week was a fever dream of almost normal. Elena started texting him memes about budget meetings. He sent back photos of Mia's finger paintings. She showed up on a Saturday with a toolbox and fixed the leaky faucet he'd been ignoring for months. He baked her the chocolate chip cookies Sarah used to make, the ones with the cracked tops and the slightly burnt edges. They didn't kiss. They didn't label it. They just kept orbiting closer, two planets that had forgotten gravity could be gentle. Then came the company retreat. Vosteka's annual team-building nightmare on a private island off the coast of Belize. Elena had insisted everyone attend, even the single parents. Bring the kid, she'd told Alex in the elevator, casual as discussing quarterly reports. There's a kids' camp. You'll both get sunshine. He'd almost said no. Mia had never been on a plane, and the idea of Elena seeing him wrangle a 5-year-old in front of the entire C-suite made his palms sweat. But Mia's eyes had gone saucer-wide at the word island, and he'd caved. The flight was smooth. The resort was paradise, white sand, turquoise water, staff in crisp linen. Day 1 was Trust Falls and icebreakers. Day 2 was a yacht cruise to a nearby cay for snorkeling. Alex opted out. Mia was napping, and he didn't trust the boat's railing with her curiosity. Elena found him on the dock, watching the horizon. You're missing bioluminescent plankton, she teased. He shrugged. I've got a kid who thinks fish are friends. Plankton can wait. She studied him for a long moment, then said, come anyway. I'll watch her. He almost laughed. Elena Voss, babysitter, but the yacht was already pulling away, and the captain was waving them aboard. The storm hit at dusk. Not the gentle rain of weather apps, but a monster with teeth. The yacht listed, alarms screamed, and then the world flipped. Alex remembered grabbing Mia, remembered Elena's hand on his arm, remembered the cold shock of water. Then nothing. He woke to sand in his mouth and Mia's small voice saying, Daddy, the sky's on the wrong side. They were on a spit of land no bigger than a football field, ringed by reef and jungle. The yacht was gone. So was everyone else. Just him, Mia, and, impossibly, Elena, sprawled a few yards away, one shoe missing, hair plastered to her face like seaweed. She sat up, coughed, and the first thing she said was, Tell me you have signal. He checked. No bars. No yacht. No rescue chopper. Just the three of them and the endless hush of waves. The first night was terror in Technicolor. Mia cried for her unicorn blanket. Alex built a fire with shaking hands and the lighter he'd used to sterilize thermometers. Elena paced the beach, scanning the horizon until the stars came out. When Mia finally slept against Alex's chest, Elena sat beside them, voice low. I fired the captain last year for cutting corners on maintenance. Alex stared at her. You think this is your fault? She didn't answer. She just pulled her knees to her chest and watched the fire die. Day 2, they inventoried. Alex's backpack had washed ashore, a half-empty water bottle, Mia's juice box, a soggy bag of goldfish crackers, and, miracle, his work laptop, somehow still zipped in its neoprene sleeve. The battery was at 43%. Elena's designer tote held lipstick, a satellite phone with a cracked screen, and a single protein bar. The phone was dead. The protein bar became Mia's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They rationed the goldfish like currency. By day 4, the crackers were gone. Mia's lips cracked. Alex's throat felt lined with sandpaper. Elena stopped pacing and started building. She lashed palm fronds into a lean-to using the belt from her dress. She climbed a coconut tree with the grace of someone who'd never climbed anything higher than a corporate ladder, slipped, caught herself, and came down with 3 green coconuts and a gash on her forearm. Alex cleaned it with boiled seawater and the only clean thing Lou. Night 5, the fever came for Mia. Not the mild one from home, but the kind that made her skin furnace hot and her eyes glassy. Alex rocked her on the sand, singing the lullaby Sarah used to hum, the one about sailing to the moon. Elena sat nearby, shredding palm leaves into strips for no reason. When Mia finally slept, Elena whispered, "There's a stream inland." I tasted it. It's fresh. Alex hadn't noticed her leave. He hadn't noticed anything except the rise and fall of his daughter's chest. They moved camp at dawn. The stream was a miracle, clear, cold, trickling over mossy rocks. Elena carried Mia piggyback while Alex hauled the laptop and the coconuts. The jungle was thick, alive with insects and the distant scream of monkeys. They found a clearing near the water and rebuilt the shelter bigger, stronger. Elena's hands blistered. Alex's back ached. Mia woke long enough to drink from a coconut shell and ask if the monkeys were friendly. "Their union," Elena deadpanned. "They're on break." Mia giggled, the sound bright as broken glass in sunlight. Week 2, the laptop battery hit 9%. Alex had been booting it every day, praying for a Wi-Fi signal that would never come. Instead, he opened the design software and let Mia draw. She made purple dolphins and a stick figure family holding hands. Elena watched over his shoulder, then took the trackpad and added a tiny sailboat on the horizon. "For rescue," she said. Alex didn't have the heart to tell her the boat was pointed the wrong way.